A wave of people. How to explain it? A wave of people. Sort of. Yeah. Learning new words every day.
On the board over there,
It sounds nice.
before we start the Moshiach class. No, a Moshiach class. Before we start the class about Moshiach, I want to just mention something about gracious, just tied into Moshiach. You have a klal, there's a rule. The beginning is wedged in the end. This is written in Sefer Yetzirah, authored by none other than Avraham Avinu. He writes that the power of the beginning is brought down in Chassidus very often. You notice the power of the end, rather, you notice from the beginning. And we see that in many places. So therefore, it behooves us to look into the very first word of the Torah. The first word of Torah B'Ksav, the written Torah, which is the first word of period of the entire Torah. And we know that in the first word, there are thousands of different pirushim, commentaries, what that first word entails, what it represents. Is it back over there? Over back on you.
Hi.
Everyone gets notice here. I don't overlook anybody. Try not to. So if minutiae, tiny, seemingly not important details are hinted in the first word Bereshis, as many of the commentaries state, how much more so with such an incredible event like the coming of Mashiach and what he stands for be hinted in the very first word. If you take a look at the first word of Chumash, it's spelled Beis, Reish, Aleph, Shin, Yud, Taf. Therefore, if Mashiach is hinted in the word Bereshis, what's the first step to find out Mashiach is who he is? When does he become a Mashiach Vadai? So the answer is, it doesn't become Mashiach Vadai, according to the Rambam, right away when he, brings all the Jews back to the fold and works very hard in Torah learning and campaigning of mitzvot. That's where he becomes the presumed Mashiach. When he becomes the definite Mashiach is only when he builds the Beis Hamikdash. So the first letter of the word Bereshis, Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash stands for Beis. That's the beginning of Mashiach's career as Mashiach. Certainly. To the Tuf is the end of the Aleph Beis and also the end of the word Bereshis. So it must be representing the finale, the final stage of becoming a Mashiach. What happens after a period of time? And that is Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. So the end of the word Bereshis represents the end of the era of Mashiach. The beginning of the word Bereshis represents the very beginning of the word Mashiach, of Mashiach's era. Not the word Mashiach, the Mashiach era. So we're left with the middle letters. What about the middle letters? Reish, Aleph, Shin, Yud, Shin, Yud. Reish, Aleph, Shin, Yud. So I have on the board here, Reish stands for Rabbeinu, because Mashiach, when you hear Rabbeinu, who does it remind you of? Moshe Rabbeinu. Mashiach's teachings is to reinforce, reveal all that Moshe Rabbeinu was taught at Har Sinai. And Mashiach and Moshe are connected now. It says that Mashiach is the last redeemer and Moshe is the first redeemer. Again, there's a connection between the first and the last. And it says with the koyach of Moshe Rabbeinu, Mashiach is capable of doing what he has to do. He needs the spark of Moshe within him to be the person who he is. In fact, the Rebbe once brought down from the Frierdiker Rebbe, I think, that Moshe has a gematria of 345. Mashiach has a gematria of 358. The difference is 13, echad. That when we are united together, what brings Mashiach is Moshe echad, meaning involved in the teachings of Moshe, and there's achdus. So that brings Mashiach. So Rabbeinu, again, the Reish of Bereshis is Rabbeinu stands for our teacher. Mashiach will also be teaching everyone, including Moshe Rabbeinu, by the way. He'll be the ultimate teacher par excellence, from the simplest Jew to the most learned Jew, including Moshe Rabbeinu himself and all the Ovis and the Tanoim and the Amoraim and the whole 9 yards of great luminaries and souls of the previous generations. That's the Reish. The Aleph stands for, Aleph is one. It also means, what does the word Aleph actually mean? The letter is one, the first letter. What does it actually mean? What does it mean?
One.
No, it's the gematria of one. But what does it mean? Aleph. Aleph means master. Aleph means a master, master of the world. The master of the world. Aleph is the master of the world. Mashiach will be the master of the world. People will flock to him, and he will introduce the oneness of Hashem in the world that never was revealed. He's also a teacher, as we said before in Rabbeinu. Aleph means he will teach. In Aramaic, if you want to say teaching, you use the word Aleph as a teacher. And also Aleph Lamed Pei, if you rearrange the letters, you have Pele, which is wonders. The wonders that he will introduce in his time. That's the Aleph of the word Bereshis. Then you have the Shin. Shin stands for Shalom. Peace will finally reign in the world, never to be followed with wars. No longer. There will be no more wars. You know the famous song. Will be no more wars, and all artillery will be turned into plowshares. So that's the ultimate peace, not just peace between people, but also peace between God and the world. Also Shabbos. It's called the day, the sixth, every millennia represents a different day of the week. So the final millennia is the one we're in right now. And we're heading for Shabbos, which is Mashiach's time, this Shabbos. The world will be in a state of Shabbos even throughout the week. Doesn't mean you're not going to do any work. It means that the Kedusha of Shabbos will shine throughout the entire week.
I felt that Shabbos is going to be for the winter Shabbos, so it's coming a few hours early.
Maybe. Then we have the Yud. The Yud stands for Yechida. We've been learning about in the Sikha of on the essence of Chassidus. Yechida, Mashiach is the Yechida. First of all, he'll reveal the Yechida in every single Jew, not just on Yom Kippur, but throughout everyday life. Our service to Hashem will be with the adrenaline of Yechida, which is what is revealed when a person has to give his life away. Kiddush Hashem, drastic times in a person's life, that will become the everyday norm. That level of devotion to Hashem will be the everyday norm, thanks to Mashiach, who is called the Yechida of all Yechidas. He was the ultimate Yechida of all the souls of that generation and all generations. He is the Yechida of every single Jew that ever lived and will live. That's who Mashiach is. That's why he's up to teach everyone, because he has within him every single neshama. That covers the whole word Bereshis. So in the very first word Bereshis, we have a hint to all the things that will take place when Mashiach will come, starting with the Beis Hamikdash building, ending, culminating with Tchias HaMesim. Yeah, makes sense. Anyone know any other hints in the word Bereshis?
What was the Reish?
The Reish is Rabbeinu.
And
Aleph is Alufa Shalolam, and Yud is Yechida. He's the Yechida. And the Tav stands for Tchias HaMesim, yes?
sorry, I don't understand.
Aleph means teaching. I'm sorry, Aleph means master. It means both things. Master of the world. If you look in Chumash by the descendants of Esau, it says Aluf, 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 Aluf. It's a word in Hebrew. It actually means master, leader. So he will run the world. Won't have any need for other leaders. He will be the one and only leader, but it will be a pleasure to work for him. And people will flock to him because they'll see truth. Everyone loves truth. It's so elusive these days. Truth is, what's that? Everyone has biases, political biases, or it smells already. It's the whole world is just can't get. It says right before Mashiach comes, truth will be non-existent. Yes.
So you said that the base and the stuff, like the first thing who do is build the base and the last thing that helps is praise and music.
Yeah. That's why it's the first and last letter of the word gracious. What I just said right now is not my own. It's my brother's book on on the Parshas Leisa Bracha. I'm sorry, Parshas Bereishis, my mistake. One more thing I want to mention. Tell me, what do you think is the thematic, the link between the end of the Chumash and the beginning of the Chumash? The end of the Chumash ends off with all the wonders that Moshe Rabbeinu did. And he did that, and he also then finally says he actually broke the luchos. Doesn't say those words. It says he did all these miracles, Le'eni Kol Yisrael, and Rashi surprisingly says Le'eni Kol Yisrael is something else. Not the miracles that he did, but the fact that he shattered the luchos, shattered the tablets. And everyone wonders, that's the greatest thing. This is what makes Moshe Rabbeinu so great. All the miracles that he did pales in comparison to the fact that he shattered the luchos. I understand Hashem gave him a thank you for it. But there are other things that Hashem agreed with Moshe. How about mentioning the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu added one day? It says he added a day. Torah was supposed to be given a day earlier, and he said, no, we're not ready yet. And Hashem said, very good, you win. If you're looking for something that Hashem agreed upon, why do you have to mention the shattering of the luchos, such a horrible thing that we lost the luchos, first luchos? Why would the Torah end in such a down ending? We like to end on a good note, on a happy note, not on a sad note. And it's not considered sad. It's so great that it supersedes all the great miracles that Moshe Rabbeinu did mentioned in that very last pasuk. Chol hayalach hazaka, chol hamoira hagadol, and then finally it mentions a hint about the luchos. So the Rebbe says that it's to teach us his love for the Jewish people. That he knew that by breaking the marriage contract before the marriage, it would take away our infidelity. We sin with the ego, and Moshe Rabbeinu wanted us to be less liable. So he sacrificed the luchos that he got from Hashem. You can imagine how he cherished it, more than a Sefer Torah, and threw it on the ground, broke it, to show that he cares about the Jewish people to the extent that he's willing to give away his connection to Torah to save Jewish lives. And which kind of Jewish lives are we talking about? Troublemakers, the Eid Rav. They were the mixed multitude. They weren't tzaddikim. They were instigators. And he cared about them as well. And the first word in Chumash Bereishis is Bereishis. What does Rashi say? Rashi and Chumash. That there's two, Hashem created the world for, there are two Reishis. The Torah is called Reishis, and the Jewish people are called Reishis. Beis Reishis, Bereishis, Beis Reishis. For the two that are referred to as the beginning, most important, God created the world. So we see the Jewish people are cherished. In the very first word, we have a hint about how important we are to Hashem. The last part of the Chumash talks about Moshe Rabbeinu sacrificing Torah for the Jew. And the first part of the Chumash, first word of the Chumash, hints that the Jewish people are the source and purpose of why Hashem created the world. And in fact, Torah has no business existing without the Jewish people. If there's no Jewish people, then the Torah can't be fulfilled. So we are the source of every level of existence. Wow. Now, there's another interesting way of explaining the end wedge in the beginning. Sometimes we only notice Hashem's greatness through miracles. The end of the Chumash talks about wondering, seeing Hashem's greatness through the miracles. And it's easier, much easier to, feel a connection to Hashem when you see miracles. In fact, there's a question that's asked, why does Hashem identify himself by the Torah? When the Torah was given, it says, I am God, your God, who took you out of Egypt. How about a bigger event? I am the God who created the world. A much greater event to create ex nihilo, yesh me'ayin, than to take us out of Egypt, which is also a miracle, but doesn't compare to the miracle of creation. If you're trying to show how great you are, why not say, I am the God who created the world? I'm the creator. And not only the creator back then, but I continue to create the world every second. Why not mention that? Famous question asked by Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, medieval sage. And the answer that one could give, there are many answers, is it's very easy to relate to something like a miracle. I took you guys out of Egypt. And you know what? We even witness it today. Today we also have anti-Semites who want to destroy us. And Hashem saves us. The Purim story, and many, many Purim stories that follow the Purim story, where Jews were in trouble and they were miraculously saved. So we can relate to that. That's easy. But can you relate to the creation of the world? Were you there when the world was created? Yesh v'yayin. What is ayin? I mean, it sounds pretty wow, but it doesn't relate to me. So therefore, at the end of the Chumash, as great as the end is, we graduate to the beginning. Beginning of the Chumash says that without miracles, you can appreciate, not by inference, you can appreciate Hashem is in control, not by miracles. Well, if he makes miracles, he must be, he's everywhere. No, you can actually look at the world, look at nature, and respect Hashem by looking at nature. Seeing a lakus through nature. Bereshis bara lakim can also be translated as the beginning. Bara means created, but bara has another meaning to it, revealed. There's a source from Gemara that says the word bara can mean reveal. The beginning, the most important thing is to reveal Elokim into the world, to see the godliness even within nature. Elokim is B'gematria Hateva. Without having to witness miracles, you can graduate and see Elokus without waiting for miracles. So first, we have the end of the Chumash that we see Moshe Rabbeinu's wonders that he did, and then we graduate to a new level where we can see Elokus directly. And that's the Chiddush of Mashiach. Mashiach will reveal the Dvar Hashem in every single thing that exists here. We won't need to have a miracle take place. The very existence of the world, every moment will be noticed by us. Okay, I have copies. I don't know if you probably have them from last time we had a class before Yom Tov. So I want to just go through, if you don't have it, I have on page 30 of On the Essence of Chassidus. Oil is a metaphor for Chassidus. And it connects to Mashiach. What does the word Mashiach mean? Mashiach means?
Anointed.
How do you anoint a king? With? Oil. And what does that mean in present day terms? When a Rebbe says that his first mimer as a Rebbe, that's the oil. It's called, he was anointed as a Rebbe. Anyways, oil is a metaphor for Chassidus, and we'll see why. Why is oil a metaphor for Chassidus? Do you have that? Anyone have that? No? I have extra copies if you don't have it. I also want to share with you in the next part of after the oil part, there's also, I mentioned my brother's footnote explaining how is it that Kabbalah, Chassidus is not a commentary on Kabbalah, but if anything, Kabbalah is a commentary on Chassidus. How do you explain that down to earth terms?
It's your older brother?
Yes. Who's younger? Oil, page 30. Yes. Yeah. So anyone needs a copy? I have copies over here. Pass it down. More than one copy. Another copy if you need. You have it from from a month ago or 3 weeks ago. Here's another one. That's all I have. So page 30. Oil, a metaphor for Chassidus. For the same reason that it is the essence of the life force. Now, for the same reason that it's called the essence of Torah, Chassidus is thus compared to oil, which represents the secret of secrets. What does it mean, the secret of secrets? So, but before we can go further, there's a footnote here on the bottom, footnote 48, from the sefer called Imre Bina, the Mittel Rebbe. This is the most difficult sefer of the entire library of Chassidus. The Mittel Rebbe's Maimorim, Imre Bina. And Rebbe quotes the difference between wine and oil. They're both referred to the secrets of Torah. The wine is called the secrets, and oil is called the secret behind the secret. Rosin, dir rosin. What does it mean, secrets of secrets? These are just words. Look at the footnote 48. Imre Bina, Sha'ar HaKrishma, the chapter that talks about Kriyat Shema, chapter 54. Examine there further the difference between wine, the category of secret, and oil, the secret of secrets. How is it explained in that mimer of the Mittel Rebbe? Wine, through its being withheld and concealed, both wine and oil are concealed in their respective fruits. Wine in the grape and oil in the olive. The difference is, wine, through its being withheld and concealed by grapes, gains strength and power when it is finally pressed. The longer you hold the wine in the grape, when you press it, it'll have a greater quality to it. What does that represent? What does that show? That wine loves to be in a secret. It loves to be contained, not revealed. Wine represents the secrets of Torah that are meant to be hidden. For example, Kabbalah. Kabbalah is something that says, I can't understand this. You feel like it's not for you. It gives you the feeling, I'm better off when you don't understand me. Just keep hold the books, but don't open it. It's not for you. So it's like wine, and the more you hide it, the better it is. It thrives on being hidden. So it's connected to the hiddenness of Hashem. But oil does not have that limitation. Oil is the same whether you leave it long in the olives or short in the olives. It's the same old oil. Oil is not limited to having to be to be appreciated when it's concealed. It is beyond concealment and beyond revelation. It doesn't have the need to be concealed. If you need to be concealed, on the one hand, it shows how high and lofty you are, but you're limited. You can't reveal yourself. Like certain things are very, very deep and they have to remain a secret. If you try to reveal it, you ruin it. That's the wine, Kabbalah. Chassidus is compared to oil. It transcends even that limitation. It can be hidden, it can be revealed. It doesn't have the limits. It can go either way. And oil, therefore, is one of the reasons why oil, on the other hand, he says here in the reading, here in the footnote, through being contained and withheld in the olive, does not gain any additional power at all. Thus, wine is in the category of concealment. It's fixed in the level of having to be concealed. The more concealed, the better it is, and has a numerical value of the word sod. Yain is spelled yud, yud, nun. Yud, yud means 20, nun is 50. The word sod, secret, how do you spell it? Samach, vav, daled. So I'm sorry, yud, yud, nun is 70. Yain is 70. Yud, yud is 20, and then nun is 50. 20 plus 50 is 70. Sod is samach, vav, daled. 60 plus 6 plus 4 equals 70. Wine represents the secret of Torah. Keep it that way. Don't try to. You're not gonna get it. It's not understandable. So on the one hand, wow, it's so lofty, but on the other hand, you can't reveal it. It's a problem. Oil, on the other hand, doesn't have that limitation. It's as good when it's revealed as when it's concealed, and likewise vice versa. So wine is a secret. Hence, it derives strength from being withheld and concealed. Oil, on the other hand, transcends concealment and revelation. It's not limited to either one. And therefore, the constraints of concealment do not give it any additional strength. From this, it is understood that chassidus, which is likened to oil, is also above concealment and revelation. And therefore, it has the power to bring out revelation from concealment. Therefore, it can reveal anything. Without chassidus, Kabbalah is a mystery. With chassidus, the secrets are no longer limited to having been secrets, but you need chassidus for that. It sort of has a connection to something very deep. We say about Hashem, he's not hidden, but he is hidden. He's not revealed, but he is revealed. Hashem reveals himself. Hashem seems to be in a state of hiddenness as well, hiding. So the way it's explained is, Hashem doesn't have to hide to be hidden. He doesn't have to be revealed to be noticed. You know what? These are very deep words. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I don't understand what I'm saying even. Hashem is not limited, that the way he's hidden is by hiding. He is essentially hidden without having to hide. And yet the same God is essentially revealed without having to show himself. For example, nobody knows who he is. Everyone talks about him. How do you feel? Baruch Hashem. It's an old lady from the old age home. Baruch Hashem. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? What do you think I mean? Do you mean Hashem Elokim? Do you mean Hashem? I don't know what you're talking about. I mean Hashem, the essence of God, which nobody knows and everyone knows. So it transcends hiddenness and revelation. It's not neither of the two. Kabbalah is fixed. It stands for Sod. My name is secret. You want to know me? It's a secret. Chassidus stands for nothing and everything. It's nothing, no thing, and therefore it's everything by virtue of being no thing. Let's go to the next paragraph here. Oil symbolizes the distilled essence of everything. You can make anything. You can take oil out of anything. Coconut oil, olive oil, what's his name? Avocado oil. Huh? What?
That I said there's essential oils of like everything.
Everything is what it seems like. Everything you can derive, and the oil is the distilled essence of every single thing that exists. And because everything has oil, what does it show? That oil is nothing. If oil would be a something, it wouldn't be the essence of everything. It would be limited. Hence, it necessarily possesses the following two characteristics. On the one hand, it is in itself distinct and separate from everything. For were it to be bound to any one particular thing, it could not be the essential aspect of everything. And since from everything you can derive oil, oil must be nothing, no specific thing. Yet at the same time, because it is the essence, it must also pervade and be found within everything. For the essence, by definition, exists and is found everywhere. It is nowhere to be grasped, and therefore it has no limits as to where it can go. This concept, like all matters pertaining to the inner Torah, is also expressed in the revealed Torah, an actual halacha. What's the halacha? Someone who is, let's say, not ritually pure, and this person touches oil that's mixed with wine. Oil doesn't mix; it stays on top. It rises above all liquids. Imagine if a non-Torah person, a person who's ritually tameh, impure, touches the oil but does not touch the wine. Does the wine become impure too? So it says the following: it does not mix with any liquid, and therefore, conversely, and footnote 50, Rabbi quotes the source. In other words, it's two bodies of water. Normally, liquid mixes with liquid, it becomes one body of liquid. You pour some orange juice into water, it's watery orange juice. They mix, it becomes like one liquid. So you can't touch one without the other one being affected. But oil, when it rises to the top, it's a separate liquid sitting on the wine. So according to one opinion, we don't care if it's sitting on the wine, as long as it's not mixed with wine, it's not mingled, it's a separate liquid, it becomes defiled, but the wine will not become defiled. That's how we see in halacha that oil is considered a separate entity, even though it's mixed with liquids. On the other hand, in the laws of kashrus, if you learn kashrus, and you are learning kashrus, oily substances that are treif absorb, or a kosher substance that's treif absorbs faster. The treif mixture, if something is treif and it touches an oily substance, it will penetrate faster. So oil causes penetration. Oil rises above all liquids and saturates through all solids. Here's the strange thing. This is not mentioned here in the Sikha. You would think that oil versus liquids are much closer. Oil is a liquid, and water is a liquid. And yet, just when you think it'll mix, it doesn't mix. Oil solids, oil is a liquid. Solids are solids. And yet we see that the oil penetrates and gets into the kishkis, into the intestines of every solid thing. So where you don't think it would mix, it mixes. Where you do think it would mix, it doesn't mix. Chassidus has both factors. On the one hand, you think you understand, and you realize, no, it rises above all the other things that you learn about. It's something that you can't really, you try very hard to reach it, and it seems to be inaccessible. And you feel that it's inaccessible. But yet, it has a say in everything you do in life. It will talk about every little nook and cranny of your life. You'll find in Chassidus everything. You'll find a Rashi, you'll find a Gemara, you'll find even science, and even math in Chassidus, certain Maimorim. It'll discuss everything. It talks about everything and nothing. So therefore, Chassidus is compared to oil. On the one hand, it seems to rise above all the other levels of Torah, yet it's the most permeating part of teachings. Kabbalah is not going to affect your everyday life as much, and Gemara for sure won't. And you learn a pasuk in Chumash, it's not going to so clearly affect everything that you do. It doesn't talk about everything. It talks about certain things that happen in the Chumash. There's halachas, but to say it has to do with every part of your life, you don't see that. Chassidus, you learn a mimer here, a mimer there. It touches upon every single aspect of your life, like oil that saturates through all liquids. On the other hand, oil does not mix with any liquids, and conversely, it penetrates into all matters. And thus, Chassidus is likened to oil, for it also possesses these two properties. By virtue of its nature as essence, it does not mix with any other thing. It remains aloof, It is the essential core of a life force higher than any radiation and reflection. On the other hand, Chassidus diffuses into and permeates every single thing as explained above. Now take a look at the page 34, where the Rebbe says that we clearly see that it's wrong to say that Chassidus is a commentary on Kabbalah, because if that would be the case, it would just be limited to esoteric, to Kabbalah. We see Chassidus employs Gemaras, and it talks of Medrashim, and it discusses so many other different subjects. It's not just Kabbalah. But the Rebbe Rashab said that if anything is true, it's vice versa, that Kabbalah is a commentary on Chassidus. How do you explain that? So here the Rebbe, in the footnote, it's very vague and extremely hard to understand what the Rebbe is saying here. My brother on page 34 explains this. Look at the small print on page 34. Yeah, not the author of the book. He's the author. The Rebbe is the author of the book of the Sikha. My brother translated it.
Oh.
Yeah. Smart guy. There are two major ideas being discussed in this footnote. Let's skip the footnote, just to see if we can get through. No? Okay. The manner in which Kabbalah is an explanation of Chassidus and not vice versa. The Rebbe tells us something new, that Kabbalah is actually an explanation of Chassidus and not the opposite. And number two, Kabbalah is only an explanation, which is a reduced reflection and does not capture the essence of Chassidus. The explanation makes it clear, but it doesn't capture the essence of Chassidus. So besides being Kabbalah, the explanation of Chassidus and not vice versa, it's only a reduced reflection and does not capture the essence. So he brings here an example. In the first part, the Rebbe distinguishes between the nature and methods of comprehending God in Chassidus and Kabbalah. Kabbalah is a descriptive anatomy, so to speak, of the body of the king, i.e. the various manifestations of divinity. It is interested in indexing, cataloging, locating these divine revelations, assigning them places and names. Hence, Kabbalah is concerned, it's a subject. It's called the subject of divinity. Kabbalah is concerned with the technical identities and relations between the spheros, the world, the order of Histalshalos, etc. Chassidus, however, is concerned with the direct perception of divinity underlying all these terms. It's not interested in any subject. It's interested in connecting to God. It uses all these different, things that we learn in Kabbalah to get a feeling of what Hashem is all about. It will thus employ all manner of explanation, example, parallels, including Kabbalah, in order to reveal the essence of divinity expressed in all levels. That is, in short, Kabbalah is a technical explanation of these forms and terms in themselves. Chassidus only uses and is interested in these forms as a means for perceiving divinity. As discussed earlier in chapter 3, Chassidus is not limited to any forms. So here my brother adds, perhaps we can better understand this concept through the following analogy. A physician, a doctor, uses the particular studies of biology. To become a doctor, you have to learn through biology and chemistry and anatomy. But he only does that, he's not interested in the anatomy and the subjects themselves per se, only to help him understand the essential life force of the human body in order that he may be able to heal. He's interested in healing people. So you got to go through biology, anatomy, chemistry, different subjects, but he's not interested in becoming a big expert in chemistry or biology or anatomy. He's interested in healing people. So he says here that he's not interested in anatomy in for its own sake, but only insofar as it helps him further understand the nature of the body's existence. Similar, Kabbalah is an anatomy, so to speak. It's a subject that you learn when you want to understand God. While Chassidus is concerned with the essential comprehension of God's being and existence. Kabbalah would be the equivalent of learning biology for a doctor to get to understand the nature of the patient's life and how to heal the patient. In the second part of his footnote, so 1 second. So how does this explain why Kabbalah's explanation of Chassidus? Chassidus gets to the core, to Hashem, to the undefinable Hashem. But in order to be able to appreciate that, you got to go through a lot of different subject matters to be able to get to the core. So the core is the essence. The subject matters are like explanations. So even though it seems to look like Kabbalah, Chassidus is making Kabbalah more lucid, it's the other way around. Chassidus is not interested in Kabbalah per se. It's interested behind the scenes. What's behind the scenes? It employs Kabbalah plus many other different subjects to make you feel a sensation of the God behind all these subjects. There's the God behind the subject, and there's all these different, things we learn, whether it's a Medrash, whether it's Kabbalah. But these are all subject matters that the person learns to get to understand the Eibishter. The second part of his footnote, the Rebbe first analyzes the nature of a Kabbalah as a revelation of Chassidus, but only a revelation and nothing more. It doesn't capture the essence. Perhaps one can again use the analogy of the physician to understand the Rebbe's idea. The anatomy textbook helps the physician to understand the body. Would you want to go to a cardiologist or a neurosurgeon who just learned and knows the book and got 100 on all tests? I don't think so. The teachings, the subject matters, does not capture the essence of the person. It's only a reflection. It's a picture, a sketch. But when do you know a doctor is good? If he's had experience in actual life of healing people. Same with a rabbi, by the way. A rabbi has to go through smicha. Do you think that's enough? Boy, is that not enough. My father, after he got his several smichas, he sat in the room with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, who was the posek of the previous generation. Sat in the room for 2 weeks, the whole day for 2 weeks straight, answering live phone calls of all different tribes you could imagine, from all different parts of the Shulchan Aruch. And Rabbi Feinstein got the Shaila. He said, I have someone in the office who will answer you. My father had to answer the questions in front. And you might have a tremendous amount of knowledge, but to actually, in real life, answer questions is a lot deep. It's much deeper than that. You can be the greatest genius and get the best mark on a smicha test and not do very well as a rabbi. And vice versa. You could maybe even fail a test. And yet you can become a better place and understand, how to paskin better, surprisingly. Doctor likewise. You can be a doctor, a genius, he got 100 in all his tests, but he's not good when it comes to practice. In practice, in other words, the learning does not capture the essence of being a good doctor. The essence of understanding a human body is captured through action. So Chassidus is manifest through simple action. All the learning is nice. It's just nice. It's around the subject. It doesn't capture the essence of what Chassidus really wants. That's what he says here in the second part of this footnote. Okay. I'm sure you know about the 4 different interpretations of Maidani, which are mentioned later on in the season. If you don't, I'll tell you. The Rebbe's favorite. Someone once asked the Rebbe, please ask the Rebbe what his favorite part of davening is. And the Rebbe said, Maidani l'fanecha. And it's interesting that the Rebbe used, in order to understand the difference between Chassidus versus Kabbalah and all the other parts of Torah, he explained Maidani l'fanecha on 5 different levels. One is Shat, one is Remez, which is intimation, hinting, what it hints to. One is more the halachic aspect, homiletical exposition, it's called in English. What halacha you can derive from Maidani. The 4th is a bunch of Kabbalah terms. The 5th one is the Chassidish explanation. After the Rebbe does that, he shows, now that you've heard what Chassidus says about Maidani, now let's go back to the Pshat. The Pshat is infused with the Chassidish Pshat. The Remez becomes a Chassidish Remez, and the Drush becomes a Chassidish Drush, and so on and so forth. So what is the Pshat? What are you thanking Hashem for? Simple Pshat of Maidani l'fanecha. I'm thanking Hashem for restoring back my neshama. And why is it that we don't mention Hashem's name? Because you haven't washed Negavasa yet, and you slept the whole night. Your hands are not clean, ritually clean. That's Alpi Pshat. Then goes next layer. Next layer is deeper. And we say, Maidani l'fanecha melech v'kayam, I thank you. And we at the end say the last words, B'chem lo rabba emuna secha, I now can trust you. What does that mean? Trusting in what? That Hashem will give us back our soul? No. Yeah, that too. But it also hints to something deeper. When you're asleep, you're 1/60th dead. It's 1/60th, a taste of death. if I wake up in the morning after being so knocked out and almost like unconscious, say the truth, I'll tell you a personal thing. I locked somebody, I locked my guest out of my house this Sukkot, and I fell asleep on the couch after not sleeping the whole night before. I'm not a deep sleeper. And I never sleep, I probably can't fall asleep easily. I don't sleep deep. The guy was knocking on the inside door. I have two doors in my house, the outside and the inside door, and I locked that too. So tired, I didn't know what I was doing. I was knocking and knocking and knocking, and nowhere to sleep. It's 2:00 in the morning. And my son, who lives upstairs, he had to come down 2 flights, to open the door for him. And I slept through everything. So I can understand that sleep is, I can relate to the idea. Sometimes it's like you're unconscious, like it's anesthesia. That's how deep it was. No, if Hashem wakes you up in the morning after a deep sleep, I'm beginning to believe and trust that even if I sleep a little bit deeper, and even if my neshama leaves my body, it can come right back. Tchias HaMesim. It's a hint. It hints, an intimation for Tchias HaMesim, for the resurrection of the dead. So I now trust and believe more in Tchias HaMesim when I see me getting up in the morning. Then we have the halacha part. Go to a step deeper. Forget about just waking up in the morning. What did Hashem just do to you? He just gave you back your neshama. Wait a second. You owe him a lot. We owe Hashem quite a bit. He has a chance of taking a collateral. If someone owes you money and that guy's not paying back, someone owes you thousands of dollars and he asks, can you please hold my car in your garage for a month? I'm going to Tishrei. You have the urge to say, you know what? I'll keep the car until you pay. And I want to do that. And we learned that from Hashem. He could have taken and held our neshama because of our, not paying back our. He doesn't even scare us in the dreams by saying, you're not going to come back. You are going to die tonight unless you, nothing. He just gives you back your neshama. Well, if he can do that, we can certainly be kind enough to our fellow friends and not take advantage of them. They gave you the car to hold, not to take as a collateral. You can't just use that and blackmail them and say, you're not going to have your car back until you pay me. Thank you very much for this suggestion of holding your car. Yes.
Are you allowed to ask?
No, you get into halacha right now. It's not a halacha class. I just gave you one example. So I'm not answering conscious and halacha. I'm just.
No, but it's relating to what you said.
Let's see how related it is. Okay.
Are you you're not allowed to do that without letting them know, but if you ask them, like, could I hold your car as collateral, you're allowed to do that?
That's something else. Yeah, if the guy agrees, I guess. But to say, take advantage of the person without person being notified, and the person would not have given you his car if he would have known that you're going to do that. So it seems like it's unfair. Come on, I need my money. The only way I'll get it is by holding his car. You can't do it. Yes.
Right. So here's my question. So there's the idea you can't hold it as collateral. Hashem just gives us back our neshama each morning. But it's not like we can do much of anything to repay him while we're still asleep, right? So
That's why I added, in your sleep, you can have a dream where he comes to you and says, I'll give you one more chance.
I see.
You die tonight unless you behave tomorrow morning.
I see.
We don't get such dreams.
Okay.
That's why I said those. I gave an example because of your question. But Hashem is kind. And if he can be kind, even though we owe him quite a bit more than just a few $100s, we owe him a lot more. And he's not, and he could be very, very meticulous and very, very strict, but he does not use his midas hadin. He's kind and gives us our neshama back. That's the halacha we learn. Then comes Kabbalah. Here comes Kabbalah. Melech is Malchus. Chai v'kayim is Yesoid. And there's a Yesoid and Malchus coming together, which creates the world because there's a yichud of Zoh and Malchus. Understand? And because of that, we now can understand the mechanics of creation. Okay. Thank you. I gain nothing from that. Unless you learn Chassidus and it gives some flavor to it. What's the Chassidic shot? Moida ani, the ani. I woke up in the morning. Who woke up? No special person, just ani. I'm a simple I. I'm standing lefanecha. I'm not mentioning Hashem's name. You know why? Not because I'm not allowed to. I don't need to. I'm transcending any name of Hashem. When you're in your impure state, you can reach a level where Hashem does not have a name. He's nameless. Lefanecha, you, whoever you are. Melechai v'kayam. Shenichzarta bi nishmasi. And what am I thanking you for? Like a shot, giving back my life, but not the life of just living, the life of a Jew. It's not Jewish life, it's not life at all. So the Chassidus doesn't change the pshat; it just adds a life to the pshat. What do you mean by life? What is life all about? Why are you so thankful to Hashem for living? And what's your life all about? What are you living for? No one thinks about these things. Why are you living? How do you define life? Yiddishkeit, Judaism. So Chassidus redefines the meaning of pshat. Doesn't change the pshat, just adds a life to the pshat. And likewise with Remez and Drush and Soida too. But we don't have time for that. So that's the Sikha goes on to explain how Chassidus infuses a new Chassidus, life into Remez and Drush and Soida. That'll be it for today as far as the Shul show is concerned.
Yeah. What is the fourth explanation of Munani? So one, it said.
The fourth one is the hardest one. The fourth one is the Soid, and that is that Melech and Chai B'Kayom are two Kabbalistic terms. Melech is Malchus, and Chai B'Kayom is the sphere of Yesoid, which is a male sphere, and Malchus is a female sphere, and there's a whole yichud between these two, the male and the female parts of Hashem's, and thus we should contemplate how Hashem creates the world. But it's again, it seems very non-relatable at first glance, and Chassidus adds. You learn Chassidus, now I see what Kabbalah was talking about. Now it has life to it. Yes.
What does it mean that we do get to a higher level of Hashem, more impure?
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Hashem's name you allowed to erase? No. How about the word Anochi, I? Can you erase that? Yes. It's funny. The word Anochi Hashem, I am God, your God. The I is greater than Hashem's name. It's the essence of God, but it's erasable. You know why? Because it's not limited. It can't contain, the word Anochi can't contain that level of holiness. A letter can contain that which is containable. God's essence is not containable. So the letters are only a hint to Hashem's greatness, but they're not containing Hashem's essence. So too, when you're impure, you don't have anything. I'll give you another example where really I think it hits home. When ink spills on the table, and someone asks, "What is that blue stuff?" What are you going to answer? That's ink. Take the same ink and I write a letter. Aleph, beige. And then the question is asked, "What is that blue stuff on the paper?" That's a word. Wait a second. Did you tell me that was ink? Now how it changed from being ink to a word? Yeah. Once it has content, you forget about the essence. So when you don't have any content, when you're impure and there's nothing, you're not in any particular form of holiness, you relate to that which transcends. Because you're below, you relate to that which transcends. When you have something, that's why it's hard for scholars to have self-sacrifice, because everything is logical. And for simple people, it's easier. Likewise, when you're more simplistic, you are connected to the simplistic aspect of God, the more abstract aspects of God, not where he's put into any kind of form of sophistication. Mark you down here. I don't know that. I can't find it here. Everyone's here?
I think, I don't know.
You can take a break for a few minutes if you want. Whoever wants to. Not here.
I really like that.
Find it interesting.
Yeah.
So this Shabbos Precious, like everyone's been saying how it's like sets the tone for the year and like the way that you act. Right?
Yeah.
So like what's the practical thing that you do? Like how do you like
First of all,
Those shall be correct, right?
First of all, I would say it means to